What's up, you beautiful sons of bitches? I love you guys. If you're watching this, you're in the right place. If you love MMA, you are in the right place. I'm trying to build the best MMA community on the entire planet, and it starts with you. Give me a follow, give me a subscribe. All you got to do is hit that button, and we can build the best MMA community on the entire internet. I love talking fights, and I want to talk with you guys. Leave me comments, let me know what you think, and we're here to talk about UFC 322 going down this weekend. And this card is stacked, and I'm so excited to talk about this card and what I think is going to happen, how I think these fights are going to play out, and what it means for the UFC. Now, the first fight on the main card, the entire main card is stacked. All 5 of these fights are fantastic. And the first fight on the main card is Benoit Saint Denis taking on Beneil Dariush. And this fight is a lightweight banger. These two guys are very good grapplers. They have pretty good hands. Now, they're giving Beneil Dariush the underdog value here. They're saying that I think it's about minus 210 they're giving to Benoit Saint Denis. And Saint Denis coming off a very impressive performance against Mauricio Hufi, the fighting nerd. Mauricio Hufi was looking like a guy that was on a crash course trajectory to getting a title shot, and it was halted by Benoit Saint Denis. And he submitted Mauricio Hufi. Now, Beneil Dariush is not Mauricio Hufi. Mauricio Hufi is a guy that leans so heavily on his striking. It's a very one-dimensional style, but it's very effective. He's a very good striker. Where Beneil Dariush is a very well-rounded mixed martial artist. And he had a very tough 2023. He got knocked out by Charles Oliveira, and he got knocked out by Arman Sarukian. But these are 2 of the best fighters on planet Earth when it comes to the lightweight division. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And where he went wrong in those fights is he allowed himself to get hit with looping right hooks. These right hooks are Beneil's Achilles heel. Benoit Saint Denis hits hard, it seems, but if you look at his resume, most of his wins are either by decision or submission. Now, he has had some knockouts. He had that kick on Matt Frivola. But really, when it comes to his hands, he's not getting a lot of knockouts in his career. He's a guy that wants to kind of smother you with his pace and take you down and really outpower you because he seems like a very strong guy. With all that being said, I am leaning towards Beneil Dariush here. I think Beneil has the tools to get it done. He's coming off a very, very good win against Show Me the Money, Renato Moicano. And Moicano, and although MMA math doesn't work like this, I think there is something to be taken into account when a guy beat a guy and then another guy beats that guy. So we saw Renato Moicano defeat Benoit Saint Denis and really bludgeon him, really beat the crap out of him. And I do think that made Benoit Saint Denis a better fighter because he looked fantastic against Hufi. But that being said, Beneil handled Moicano, and I do think that's not the reason I'm picking Beneil, but that is something very significant to look at, and I do think Beneil, especially if you're going to bet on this fight, I do think at underdog value, Beneil is the smart pick here. Now, moving up the card, we have Leon Rocky Edwards taking on Carlos Prates, and this fight is going to be very interesting. I'm not going to say banger because Leon Edwards doesn't usually bring bangers. He's a very methodical fighter. He's not going to just throw caution to the wind and just scrap. I think his perception was a little distorted from the head kick knockout against Kamaru Usman. People kind of maybe looked at him more as a violent striker, but he's not a violent striker. He's a guy that's very methodical and tries to edge out victories. And I do think Carlos Prates is a heavy favorite for a reason. I do think he's a younger fighter. He has more momentum. He is a very violent striker. And Leon's takedowns aren't bad. He took down Kamaru Usman. So I think if he can take down Prates, he has a good chance of victory here. And we saw against Ian Gary, Prates can be taken down. That being said, I think Prates keeps the distance well. I think he does do what it takes to get a victory here. And honestly, I think the main factor I'm looking at is Leon doesn't have the hunger any longer. I think he's really getting close to that retirement. In fact, if he loses here and he loses in a really violent way, I do see him retiring. I think Carlos Prates gets a knockout victory here. And at the favorite status that Prates is holding, I think it is warranted. I think it does make sense that he gets a victory over Leon Edwards here. I mean, he was so brutalized by Sean Brady last fight. That has to be so demoralizing. So one of two things can happen. He either A, got in the gym like a demon, like a madman, and just worked. Or the more likely scenario that I'm seeing is that he's really knocking on retirement's door. He really was demoralized by that Brady performance, and I think we're going to see Leon Edwards get starched here. Next, moving up the card even further, we have another welterweight battle, and I'm super excited about this card because 3 out of the 5 fights on the main card are welterweight fights, and I think the welterweight division is the perfect combination of skill, speed, and power. These guys, these athletes are very powerful. They're very skilled, and they're very fast. They're the perfect combination. They're not too big where they're compromising their speed. They're small enough where they can scramble really well. And I'm really excited because these 3 fights are all going to be fantastic. At least they seem like they're going to be. And this fight is very interesting. We have Sean Brady taking on Michael Morales. And Michael Morales is 18-0. Sean Brady 18-1. So very interesting. Both have 18 victories. Sean Brady lost to Bilal Muhammad, but he's coming off of 3 great victories. He had a good win over Gilbert Burns, and then he's coming off that dominant victory over Leon Edwards. And then we have Michael Morales, who's coming off a vicious knockout over Gilbert Burns. Michael Morales is 26 years old. He's pretty young when we're talking about the sport of MMA. And I do think we're going to see that come into play here. I think he's the bigger guy. I think that's not up for debate. He's very tall. He's like 6 foot for that division, whereas Brady's a couple inches smaller. Brady's a very strong guy, and Brady's a very accomplished jiu-jitsu grappler. He's a very good MMA wrestler, and I do think he uses these tools to edge out a victory against Michael Morales. A very tough Michael Morales. I think Brady has a very hard fight ahead of him. But after that dominant performance we saw against Leon Edwards, I think Brady has shifted into a new gear. I think he's in a different headspace. He became a father in the last year, and I think he's in this different place in his life where he's like, now or never. He's stepping on the gas, and he really wants to get that title shot and become champion of the welterweight division. And I think he's going to get the title shot with a convincing, emphatic victory over Michael Morales. I am picking Brady here. Brady is the slight favorite, and I do think that Brady gets it done here. He just uses all the arsenal he has at his disposal. He is a more well-rounded fighter than Michael Morales, and I think Michael Morales is going to go on and do incredible things, and I think if he does suffer a defeat here, I think it's only going to make him a better fighter, the same way that Brady losing to Bilal Muhammad made him a better fighter. I think this only makes sense. I think this is the way that this fight's going to play out, and I'm super excited about how this fight's going to play out. Michael Morales is relatively untested. He beat Neil Magny, he beat Gilbert Burns, but really, other than those 2 fights, he has no real quality of opposition. He hasn't defeated any real high-level, world-class MMA fighters. So this is his first real test after beating an older Gilbert Burns that Sean Brady also absolutely demolished with a unanimous decision not too long ago. So Burns on the tail end of his career. This is a prime fighter in Sean Brady. So we're going to really see what Michael Morales is made of in this fight. I'm super excited about this scrap. Next, moving up the card to the co-main event, we have Zhang Weili, the former strawweight champion, moving up to challenge Valentina Shevchenko. In my opinion, the GOAT of women's mixed martial arts. You could say Amanda Nunes, and I think that's a strong argument, especially when she defeated Valentina twice, but I do think Valentina won one of those fights. And with her being a much smaller opponent, I think that's quite impressive. Her coming back from that defeat to Alexa Grasso and beating Alexa. I mean, Valentina is the greatest women's mixed martial artist of all time, but Zhang Weili really made a name for herself as the GOAT of that strawweight division. but she's moving up to challenge Valentina for that flyweight title. Now, there's a lot of parity in this fight. They're really close in age. Valentina's 37, Wei Li is 36. They're very close in age, which surprised me. I thought Wei Li was a little younger than 36, but she's 36, only 1 year younger than Valentina Shevchenko. So I don't really think age is going to play much of a factor here. She's coming off a great victory over a really tough Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana Suarez was being touted as the next strawweight contender, a world-class wrestler, and Wei Li made her look relatively easy. That's why she's moving up, because she cleared out the entire strawweight division, and now she wants a new challenge, and this is a super fight of all women's super fights. This is probably the greatest women's super fight of all time. Now, if Amanda comes back to fight Kayla Harrison, you could make an argument that that is just as great, if not better, but I think this is the greatest women's super fight really of all time. You could also make an argument for Amanda versus Valentina, but this fight is going to be electric, absolute fireworks. And I think Valentina Shevchenko, she is the slight favorite, and I think you're getting great value there with her if you're betting on this fight, because she is the more tested, the more well-rounded. She's the bigger fighter. And I think although Wei Li looked fantastic against Suarez, Valentina also looked absolutely incredible against her last opponent, Manon Fior. And Valentina seems like she kind of rekindled that fire she had for fighting. It seems like when she lost to Grasso, that really lit a flame under her to prove that she is the best women's mixed martial artist in the world. And in this fight with Zhang Wei Li, we're going to see absolute fireworks. Both these women are so technical, so talented, so fast. I just think Valentina, especially with her head kick. We've seen Zhang Wei Li get caught with a head kick against Rose Namajunas, and I think the head kick's going to be there for Valentina. I do think that that's probably the most likely scenario if the fight is finished. It's Valentina landing that head kick on Zhang Wei Li. I love Zhang Wei Li. I think she's an incredible person, an incredible MMA fighter. I just think that Valentina has the tools here, and I think everything logically is telling me Valentina will be victorious here. But I would not be surprised if Zhang Wei Li is victorious here, because she is ferocious. She's almost like the female Habib in that regard, where she just feels like an indomitable force no matter what. She's always going. And I wouldn't be surprised if she gets a victory. I just think Valentina makes the most sense here. Now, moving up to the main event of the evening, the reason that we are here, we have Islam Makhachev. He vacated his lightweight strap. He's the pound-for-pound #1 fighter on planet Earth, and he is moving up to the welterweight division to challenge Jack Della Maddalena from Australia, the man who defeated Bilal Muhammad and did it in pretty convincing fashion. This is a mega fight like we haven't seen in a long time, probably since Islam versus Volk. This fight is going to be incredible, and there's a lot of question marks here. Similar to Wei Li moving up to fight Valentina, there's a lot of question marks about how is Islam going to adjust to fighting bigger opposition. He had a hard time against Volk in that first fight, and Volk is a 145er. He's fighting Jack Della Maddalena, who is a natural 170-pounder and a large 170-pounder. He made Bilal look small. Jack Della Maddalena is a ferocious striker, an absolutely phenomenal striker. The way he moves, it's like poetry. He's so fluid with his movements. No movement's wasted when it comes to Jack Della Maddalena, JDM, as he is called. JDM is my favorite striker to watch probably in all of the UFC right now, just because of how crisp and how fluid he is. And he's an absolute dog. We've seen him overcome adversity. When he beat Gilbert Burns, he had a broken arm. And that didn't stop him, because when he saw an opportunity to land that knee on a Gilbert Burns who was going for a takedown, he didn't hesitate. And this is a guy that will find any tool in his toolbox. He will find any way he needs to find to become victorious in a fight, no matter how hard things get. And Islam really hasn't had to overcome much adversity. we saw him have somewhat of a difficult time finishing Dustin Poirier. I mean, Dustin made Islam bleed. And Dustin, although he's a legend, he's a much smaller guy than JDM. And honestly, JDM, I think, has much better takedown defense and better striking as well. He is so brilliant the way he baits people in. He mixes it up, body, uppercut, goes low, goes high. He is a very good striker, and he's not predictable. And I think that's going to bode well in JDM's favor in this fight. Now, he's a considerable underdog here. We're seeing JDM at about 2-1 odds. And I think that's good value. I do think that if I had to really gun to my head, who is going to win? If I pick the wrong fighter, I'm dead. Probably Islam Makhachev. That's probably what I would go with. But we're talking about odds here, and I'm talking about value in the odds. And I do think that JDM has a very, very good chance at victory. I'm going to give this percentage of victory 55% Islam Makhachev walking away victorious, 45% JDM walking away victorious. And when we're talking about a 45% chance of victory for plus 200 odds, I think JDM is a very, very good bet here. Like I mentioned, I do lean slightly towards Islam because he is a very large lightweight. Very large. I think he'll adjust really well to that welterweight division. He looks massive. I just think JDM has something really special. His takedown defense looked so good against Bilal. And Bilal and Islam are two different beasts. Bilal is a fantastic fighter, a champion, of course. But Islam Makhachev is different. His power, his takedowns, he's different. And I'm not going to equate the two. But what I will say is, if we're taking notes from that fight, I think JDM will have success defending the takedown against Islam. Islam's a great kickboxer. He's a great striker. So I do think even in the stand-up department, I think Islam fares really well. I have this weird feeling that JDM is going to continue to pull magic out of his hat. And, man, I know I said I'm leaning slightly towards Islam if I had a gun on my head, but just for the sake of prediction and just for the sake of betting, I'm going to say JDM is my pick here. Man, but, God, this fight's so hard to pick. This fight is fascinating, and I'm so excited to see how this plays out. This entire card is fantastic. Even the prelims has some great fights. I'm going to post a video talking about my favorite prelim fights on this card. But those are my picks for the main card. I am so excited about this event. I haven't been this excited about a UFC event probably since UFC 300. That's how good this card is. My favorite fight on this main card, obviously besides for the main fight, I'm very interested in Michael Morales versus Sean Brady because I'm really curious, how good is Michael Morales? I know Sean Brady's great. He's a Philly native. Shout out to my boy Sean Brady, go Birds. But I'm really curious, how good is Michael Morales? That's probably my pick for most interesting fight. Of course, the co-main with the women. I mean, how often am I excited about a women's MMA fight? It's rare. It's rare, but I'm genuinely so excited about this fight. The entire main card, fantastic. What is your most anticipated fight for this main card? What are your picks? Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm trying to curate the best MMA community in the entire world. I'm talking about the most knowledgeable. I'm talking about the most entertaining. The people that want to have the best dialogue about fights. And the place to do it is right in this comment section. I want to hear from you guys. Let's talk fights. I'm so excited about this card, and I'm so excited to talk to you guys. That's all I got for you. Subscribe, follow, give me a like, give me a comment. I appreciate each and every one of you. MMT out.